Everyone, how's it going? So in this video, I want to talk about sabotaging yourself in business. And this might be a reason why you can't actually scale. So if you feel like you're kind of stuck in the rut, let's say like you're kind of stuck at the revenue number, you've been there, and this could also be a reminder for me as well too, where you're not scaling, you just feel like you know what to do, but you're just not able to do it. Everything just feels like it's just compiling. If every day feels like there's a new strategy to scale, you're trying everything out, but you're just not getting the result, and you're starting to realize maybe it's actually a me problem, maybe some mindset problem, maybe I'm the one that's actually sabotaging myself. If you think that's you, this is basically the video for you. So just to give you some context to me, my name is Mahiz. I run a company called Webful that we basically help coaches and consultants basically monetize the audiences, get more money from it. If you want to know specifically how we did this, I actually created a 48-page doc that goes over pretty much everything. There's proof, there's case studies, there's like actual tangible strategies. So I promise you, scaling to like the 30K months is not a problem. We've seen clients do it, we've helped clients do it. So you're not going to be in this situation, but like, if you feel like you want to get to that point and you just can't scale, I'm going to explain to you why this might be the case. So actually, there was a really cool, I can't remember when I watched this. Maybe I was like 12 or something like that, and I watched this Teen Titan episode where Robin was actually finding this villain, and like he was trying to figure out like, oh, who's this person who's been sabotaging me this whole time? This whole time I've been fighting it, I haven't been able to scale. Like this is the one person that like I need to figure out who they are. And then he finally catches him, and then once he takes off his mask, he actually realizes that it was him in the mask, essentially. So he realized that he was actually sabotaging himself. This was like a dream or anything like. But anyways, the point of this is that this is a lot of business owners actually. They think that the enemy is like, the algorithms. They think the enemy is like the prospect. They think the enemy is the technology. They think the enemies are the softwares. But a lot of the time, it's actually themselves. So I want to give you guys a perspective shift actually. Every single business problem you are facing has already been solved. Like, unless you are making more money than Elon Musk, and I wouldn't imagine you watching this video, every single business problem you can conceivably face has been solved. People have solved how to get 10K a month. People have solved how to get to 50K a month. People have solved how to get to 100K a month. People have solved how to get to flipping 50 mil a month. Like, every single business problem that you could possibly imagine has been solved. So you being stuck at a certain revenue point is not a fault of the strategies, opportunities, because people have solved it. There's hundreds of people who've solved it. Because most of the time, it's actually due to self-sabotage. And let me explain this to you. You know exactly what you need to do. The reason why you're not doing it could be a couple of reasons, but let me give you like 3 of the main ones. A lot of the time, you actually subconsciously believe that you are incapable of hitting those revenue numbers, so your brain starts to look for evidence that you're incapable of doing it. What that means is, let's say for example, you're doing outreach, and like someone told you that, hey, if you do a specific amount of outreach for a specific amount of time, you will get to XYZ number, because they did the math. They said that, hey, if XYZ people responded, blah, blah, blah. So people told you that. And then you're doing it. And let's say you get like, on one day, you get like 3 no's. 3 people told you, nah, I'm not interested. What's going to happen is that every time you are now looking for prospects, or anytime like you're trying to do this outreach, subconsciously in your head, you believe that this is not going to work. So as a result, you don't do the inputs that's going to require that's going to create the outputs that's going to make it work. So for example, if you're saying that, if you message someone and then you like, and this is like a really like mental thing, but trust me, it's so apparent in business and people are not aware of it. Where like you do the message and then someone just says no, and then you just immediately like be like, yeah, it's fucked, like it's stopped. And then every single time you're just expecting a no. So like if someone asks you something for like, hey, I want more detail to this, you might not respond to them. And then you might respond like 3 days later, and then they're like, hey, I'm not interested. And you're like, oh, see, this is not gonna work, all that type of stuff. Or like someone asked you to like book a call, for example, and like they couldn't find a time in your calendar, and then you didn't follow up with them, and then maybe 3 days later you remembered, oh, let me follow up with this person, after you thought that this is not going to work, and then the person doesn't want to book a call in, when then you follow up 3 times and they don't show up, and then you're like, fuck, this is not going to work. And then maybe you start putting down, you're like, hey, I'm doing this outreaches, it's not working, and then you say, oh, I'm consistent, but in reality you're not really consistent. So your brain is starting to look for evidence, and then that evidence is starting to pile up. As a result, it's starting to, you're actually starting to believe that you can't hit the revenue numbers. As a result, you get stuck. And this is crazy, bro. Like this has happened to me multiple times. So it's like, and then another reason could also be you're actually overcomplicating the process to scale, with the consumption of information. As a result, you're actually making the work seem harder than it is, so you actually procrastinate. So this is another thing I also did as well too. When like you want to scale, for example, and a lot of the time scaling is when you're in a lower revenue, it's really simple as just elevating your constraints or just doubling what you did. So instead of me looking at being like, hey, why don't I just double what I did last month? I'm looking at different strategies. I'm looking at like, hey, how can I do email? I can do SMS. How can I do LinkedIn? How can I figure out a way to get people? So you're just looking for different ways. As a result, you're procrastinating. There's all these services that you want to pay for, and then you start to realize that, fuck, I have to pay all these people. Like, this is so difficult. I don't know what to do. As a result, you stay stuck because you're not taking action, because you perceive the action to be required to get to where you want to be is tough, but a lot of the times it's not. And another reason why it could be used, that you actually put in extremely high expectations on yourself, and essentially when you don't hit them, you become defeated, and then you fall into inconsistency. So you give yourself the expectation, hey, in like 3 months I'm gonna get to 50K a month, and I'm gonna do it. You're stuck at thinking like I'm gonna do it, and then you don't know about your constraints, you don't know anything. You're just doing it, you're pumping it out. Let's say a month you hit 20K, and you're like, well, I'm really on the path, and then after that you slightly dip to 50K, and then you're like, damn, I'm never gonna scale to like this 50K. So you just feel so defeated. But in reality, life moves like cycles, so there isn't really a straight path to a goal. But what ends up happening is that people will have these, I won't say it's unrealistic, but they'll have really high expectations of themselves, and when they don't realize that they hit it, they start to feel defeated. But in reality, it's because they don't really know themselves to the level that they should know themselves. So all I like to tell myself is that you don't know what you don't know, essentially. So my goal with this is actually to make you aware of this so you don't fall into the trap, because it's very easy to not realize any of these things. You might have not even realized this until you watch this video, but a lot of the times you actually do these things subconsciously. It only becomes conscious when it's happened so many times that it's very hard to ignore it, if you get what I mean. Because every single day people spend millions. Like every single day people hit breakthrough months. Like maybe 5 minutes ago some guy posted that I hit 100K month. Like it's possible. Every single day people drive past in the car that you want to be in, or like stay in the villa that you've always wanted to live in. Every single day. It's not the ability, it's not the knowledge. Most of the times it's actually you. Most of the time it's actually this picture right here when it comes to business. Because I want to give you guys a reminder that everyone's not perfect. There should never be any sort of pressure to actually hit those goals. And hitting those goals should not have resistance, because when you create resistance to those goals, as a result, it just makes everything extremely hard to actually hit. So follow the plan and have trust in the strategy, and I promise you it all comes by. This was a very short video. I didn't want to make it too short, but I wanted to serve it as a reminder to anyone, and even a reminder to myself anytime I kind of fall into these habits, because it's very hard to not realize that they're there. So don't self-sabotage, and I promise you the strategies and everything like that. And if you're looking for the specific strategies to actually help you scale and get you to that point, I don't want these notifications to disturb you. Check out this document. It's completely free. It goes over every single thing that you might need to actually scale and get yourself to like 30K a month plus. So yeah, do that, and we'll speak very soon. Peace.